Good morning, everyone. Greetings of the day to my listeners from different parts of the world. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab to my Indian friends. I welcome the listeners from diverse backgrounds, students, faculty, colleagues of my speakers, and many listeners from the entire world. We've tried to share it with as many people as possible. My wishes to the women on this very prestigious day, the celebration of being a woman, the International Women's Day. We at the Government College of Education, Chandigarh, have themed the day today as threading the global pearls and embellishing the string, bringing in three diverse, grit women from Canada. Born out of car, your aspirations are known. You strive for success with wisdom.
Thank you so much, Ravneet ma'am. A very happy Women's Day 2021 to all of you. And I thank Ravneet ma'am for this wonderful opportunity. You have definitely been an inspiration in our personal and professional lives. And I would also like to introduce Dr. Anjali Puri, who has been a dedicated faculty in our college. So, beginning this Women's Day with the self composed poem, which goes like, "O women, what thy glory! Inside out, you are multifaceted. Your success, multi storied. You are a dream in yourself, like whipped cream over the Alps. Your lordly eyes gleaming with their own sun. Whatever you take up, you just want to have fun. Miracles pour out of your hands. With a bright mind, you accomplish your demands. Drowned in your heart are battles unknown. You push your way up through each and everything you condone. You let everyone take you for granted. You light a lamp in everyone and always bloom where you are planted. On these lines, on this very day of 8th March, we proudly celebrate the women who have been the pillars of the society since times immemorial. We acknowledge the women who have strived hard to achieve personal and professional goals. History is a witness that the most successful civilizations have bolstered their existence and successfully flourished on the shoulders of the women. Even today, women are being bestowed upon with equal opportunities and have broken the glass ceiling. In every sphere, we see women across the world bearing the torch. Angela Merkel, Kamala Harris, Melinda Gates, Indra Nui, Christine Lagarde, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama only make up a handful of international personalities who, in their lives, have accomplished what most can only dream of. India has its own fair share of prominent female personalities who throughout the history have shown their mettle and defied the prejudice. Rani Lakshmi Bai, Sarojini Naidu, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Indira Gandhi, Shakuntala Devi, Kiran Bedi, Kalpana Chawla are only a few of those who are a part of a never ending list. The saying that women run the world is coming true with every passing year. Women around the world are contributing every second to make it a better place. A woman is now independent and strong enough to take care of herself. With self confidence, she will definitely break all the barriers that lay in her path to success. So, are we all set? We have a string of events coming up. I now invite Dr. Anjali Puri for further proceedings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gurbina. And good morning, one and all present here. International Women's Day. Celebration of this day is not customary, but this day gives us an opportunity to just pause and reflect that historical and contemporary situations have never been more relevant than today. Women are rising above traditional boundaries, taking leadership positions in every aspect of life. Women are leading nations, empowering women, empowering women I apologize for this inconvenience because of the net problem. There was a little interruption. So I just continue that both the IQAC and placement cell of the college are collaborating to host this webinar under the able guidance and leadership of our honorable principal, Dr. A.K. Srivastava. I also take the opportunity to introduce our principal to the worthy academia joined with us worldwide. Sir is a profound scholar in Hindi literature and has research experience in the critical analysis of literature during his doctorate and afterwards. Having a wide experience in school education and teacher education, other areas of his expertise are pedagogy in Hindi, history of education, and Indian philosophical aspects of education. Now I invite Principal Sir to welcome the guests and share his thoughts on International Women's Day. Over to you.
सभी को नमस्कार। आज के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस पर सभी महिलाओं को हमारा हार्दिक नमन और बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। हमारे कॉलेज गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज ऑफ एजुकेशन चंडीगढ़ ने अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस पर महिलाओं के सम्मान के लिए एक इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार का आयोजन किया है। इसमें हम सबका बहुत बहुत सौभाग्य है कि प्रोफेसर डेलान पी टेलर ट्रेंट यूनिवर्सिटी कनाडा की चेयरपर्सन हैं। उन्होंने हमारे इस अनुरोध को स्वीकार कर हम सबका बड़प्पन निभाया है, हम सबको अभिभूत किया है। हम अपने समस्त कुलीगों के साथ आपका मैडम हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत करते हैं। तत्पश्चात आज की दो प्रमुख स्पीकर मिस अमृता कौर, यंग अचीवर, अरेंज कंट्री कैलिफोर्निया यूएसए, और मिस एमिली सैम, असिस्टेंट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट एक्सेला टेक्नोलॉजी, आप दोनों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत है। इस प्रोग्राम के संचालन में डॉक्टर रवनीत चावला, हमारे कॉलेज के एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर और प्लेसमेंट सेल की इंचार्ज, तथा डॉक्टर अंजलि पुरी, हमारे कॉलेज की आईक्यूएसी इंचार्ज, ने अपने कोऑर्डिनेशन में इस प्रोग्राम को अंजाम दिया है। उनके सहयोगी डॉक्टर उपासना, डॉक्टर आरती, श्री रविंदर जी, जो हमारे कॉलेज के असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हैं, आप सभी का हम हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत करते हैं। इसके साथ हमारी कुछ छात्राएं, इसमें गुरबीना, शिवांगी, वर्षा, अनमोल और अन्य सहयोगियों ने इस कार्यक्रम के संचालन में अपना सहयोग प्रदान किया है, सहयोग करते आ रहे हैं। हम इन सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत करते हैं और एक बार फिर हम समस्त महिलाओं को आज के शुभ पावन अवसर पर नमस्कार करते हैं, प्रणाम करते हैं। साथियों, हमारे भारतीय संस्कृति में दो ऐसी घटनाएं मिलती हैं जब महिलाओं का अपमान किया गया तो वह कुल जिसने अपमान किया था समूल नाश हो गया। आप एक माता सीता, रामायण की कहानी में माता सीता का अपहरण रावण ने किया था, उसका समूल नाश हो गया, और महाभारत की प्रसिद्ध घटना में द्रौपदी का अपमान करने की कोशिश कौरवों ने की थी, उनका समूल नाश हो गया। हमारी भारतीय संस्कृति में यह कहा गया है, यत्र नार्यस्तु पूज्यन्ते रामंते, जहां नारियों की पूजा होती है वहां देवता निवास करते हैं। तो अभी सबसे गुजारिश करता हूं कि महिलाओं का सम्मान करें और उन्हें अपने से ज्यादा पूजा करना चाहिए। और चूंकि ये प्रमुख कार्य होती है हमारे यहाँ की पोस्ट में, उनके हस्बैंड जिस पोस्ट पर होते हैं उनसे बड़ी पोस्ट पर उनके प्रधानमंत्री को सम्मान किया जाता है। मैं आज की एक छोटी सी कविता आप सबके समक्ष जरूर प्रस्तुत करना चाहूंगा। वो इस प्रकार है, हर दिन मेरा है, हर बात मुझसे है, नाच के मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना नाच है मुझे मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना विविधता और जीती हुई हर दिन मेरा है हर बात मुझसे है नाच है मुझे मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना घर तुम पुरुष हो तो तुम्हारा घर तुम पुरुष हो तो तुम्हारा मुझसे है मैं दर्द आकृति हूँ शिष्य हूँ मैं ही सब नाच है मुझे मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना मैं जन्मती हूँ वो जीवन मैं जन्मती हूँ वो जीवन रचती हूँ मुझमें ही तुम्हारी संस्कृति का सभ्यता है मुझमें ही तुम्हारी संस्कृति का सभ्यता है मैं ही अन्न से जुड़ा हूँ करती हूँ भाषा नाच है मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना मैं ही स्त्री रूप से अन्न को भोजन मैं ही स्त्री रूप से अन्न को भोजन वस्त्र को पोशाक और मकान को घर बनाती हूँ मैं वजन तुम्हारे होने तुम्हारी निर्भरता तुम्हारी निर्भरता मैं संचित हूँ आज है मुझे मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना मैं मिट्टी हूँ तुम्हारे आंगन की मैं मिट्टी हूँ तुम्हारे आंगन की मैं तुम्हारे बाग का तहजीबी दरख्त मैं तुम्हारे बाग का तहजीबी दरख्त जिसके फल खा तुम्हारी नस्लें लहराती मैं ही प्रकृति हूँ मैं ही सृजन नाच है मुझे मैं औरत सर्वोत्तम रचना मैं परिधि बालक पुरुष का बालक मैं परिधि हूँ मैं ही तुम्हारा व्यास ग्रेडियंट मैं परिणाम मैं परिमाप मैं परिमाप तुम्हारे वजूद का नहीं तुम्हारी नाच है मुझे पर कि मैं और क्यों मेरा है हर बात मुझसे है नाच है मुझे शास्त्रीय कविता में लगभग सब कुछ कह दिया गया मैं अंत में इतना जरूर कहना चाहूंगा अगर औरत नहीं होती तो ये सृष्टि नहीं होती इसलिए हमारे संसार की एकमात्र कारण औरत हम उन्हें सम्मान सिर्फ एक अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस या महिला दिवस मनाने हमेशा उन्हें सम्मान उन्हें आगे रखें इस देश में इस देश में महिलाएं सम्मानित होती है वह देश राष्ट्र भी आगे बढ़ता जाता है ये हमने सीखा है आज अंत में और सभी लोगों को प्रणाम करती है शुभकामनाएं धन्यवाद
थैंक यू कनेक्टेड ही लग रहा है कनेक्टेड नहीं Thank you, Principal Sir. To my audiences from the globe, that was poetry in Hindi, all in glory of the women, the sacrifices she makes, the dignity she maintains, and the strength, the inner strength that she has as a mother, as a daughter, and as a person. Now it is my proud privilege to be introducing the chairperson of the day, Professor Dalon P. Taylor from Trent College, Canada. I'm sharing my screen here. So, Professor Dalon P. Taylor. She's a discovery that I made about 1.5 years back when I was traveling to Harvard as well. Her deliberations stunned me. We were together again at Princeton University for another series of presentations for a conference. Professor Dalon Taylor is a great orator. She herself is a graduate in international development. She's graduated in social work also, master's in social work also, and her PhD in social work. She has a deep understanding of the social work, the social fabric, the issues with ethnicity, skilled migration, immigration, disrupting colonial construction of women of color, race, racism, anti-Black racism, social identity, community development, and health inequities. Her publications are of the Scopus level to do with skills of immigrant women, her critical views on post-migration and the population that I mentioned, and of complexities of the issues related on racism, on sexism and ageism, on the experiences of mental health stigma among the Canadian women. She is presently also doing great funding researches based on very prestigious fundings. She's a great orator. She has a feel of various cross-cultural understandings. Without any delay, can I bring in Professor Dalon to take over the session? Over to Professor Dalon, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chawla, for that warm introduction. It is amazing to be in Canada and be participating in an event all the way in India. I guess this is perhaps one of the upsides of COVID-19, if there are any. First, I must say hello to everyone. It brings me great pleasure to be with you to celebrate International Women's Day 2021. It is just past midnight, 12 a.m. here for me in Canada, and for many of us who have joined. Depends on where in Canada you are. It could be a few hours before ahead as well. So on this end, we are pretty much just March 8th. So we have the full day ahead of us for International Women's Day. But nevertheless, we have gathered to thread the global pearls, to tackle an issue that is beyond any one country or any one time zone. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the Government College of Education and their organizers, members of the host team, members of the teachers team, and the student coordinators for putting this event together. I would like to personally thank my friend, Dr. Ravinder Chawla, for inviting me to chair this event. It is amazing that a Black woman from Jamaica who lives in Canada can be invited to chair an event in India. And this is the power of networking and collaboration that we will be talking a little bit more about today. I would also like to acknowledge the other speakers for this event. Miss Amrita Kaur, a young achiever who is from India but resides in California, and Miss Emily Sam Thomas, who is an assistant vice president at Exela Technologies in India. Both women who are amazing will share their journeys with you, and I can't wait to hear it, and I'm sure you can't wait as well. Most importantly, however, I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to celebrate International Women's Day 2021 with us, especially in the era of our similar yet very different COVID realities. a reality where women around the world are among the groups hardest hit by the COVID-19 virus. Today, or tonight, depending on where you are, or early morning, as we celebrate the progress that women have made and acknowledge the milestones that we have achieved, let us continue to raise our collective voices to demand equity and equality for women around the world. Let us not only thread these global pearls to support women, but let us commit to collaborate, to educate, and empower for change. In this webinar alone, we have representation among us from across the globe. It is important for us to learn from each other, regardless of culture, gender, socioeconomic status, class, caste, and the list goes on. It is important that we learn from each other as human beings first, to enrich our lives and our journey through life, to ensure that we are each treated with the dignity and respect that we deserve as human beings, period. Let us come together as women with our allies, which includes men, to fight for gender equality, to rise up and create changes for gender parity. Around the world, women make up more than half of the labor power, yet only 55% of adult women on an average are in the labor force compared to 78% of men who are in the labor force. According to the World Economic Forum 2020 report on the global gender gap, only 36% of women hold senior private sector managerial positions or public sector official positions around the world, in these positions around the world. And only just about 18% of firms globally are led by women. Women bear 40% of the wage gap and 50% of the income gap around the world. As women, we have less options to start companies in most countries, with less access to credit, less access to land, and less access to finances. The same report speaks about the economic participation opportunities for women. Countries such as Jamaica ranks 24 out of 153 countries, United States at number 26, Canada at number 30, and India at number 149. Iraq closed out this list at number 153, and Benin and Iceland were at the top of the list. Based on the same report, Canada and Jamaica ranked at number 1, along with several other countries when it comes to closing the educational gap. US ranks at number 34, and India ranked at number 112. Iraq, Pakistan, and many African countries were at the latter end of this list. For health and survival on the global gender gap, again, out of these 153 countries where data was reviewed, Jamaica was at number 65, US at number 70, India at number 150, and China was at the bottom of the list. This report also indicates that based on current trends, it will take 99.5 years on an average to close the gender gap across at least 107 countries that have participated in the study annually. Based on the slow progress made between 2006 and 2020 on economic participation opportunities for women, it will take about 257 years to close the economic participation gap for women. The second area where gender gaps will take longest to close is in political empowerment. Of the 153 countries that were covered in this report, approximately 85 of them have never had a female head of state in the past 50 years. While some countries have reported gains in areas of education and health, there is still a long way to go. To make this a bit more personal, I will highlight some of the gaps in my field, in academia in Canada. The Canadian University Affairs magazine highlights Statistics Canada 2016 data for the University and College Academic Staff Survey System, or System Survey, sorry. Among students, women make up 60% of university graduates in Canada who graduate with undergraduate degrees, but represent 54.4% of students in a master's program, or 47.8% of PhD candidates, so students who are further along in their PhD studies. On the faculty side, 48% of women at the faculty level are assistant professors, 41% are associate professors, and 26% are tenured professors. Of course, the numbers for men are much higher. In terms of job security for full professorship, men have led this space for the past 40 years in Canada. In 1970, 3,138 full-time faculty members were women out of a total of 24,597 faculty members, so roughly about 13%. Fast forward to 2016, where 18,099 full-time faculty members were women out of 45,660, or just about 40%. So there has been some growth in this area, but still we haven't come far enough. And lastly, in earnings, in 2016, men earned at least $14,972 more than women, or just over 12%. In Canadian academic spaces. This is down, and I guess this is progress from 25% in 1990. But overall, gender inequity in opportunities and in income is still a huge part of academia in Canada. And based on the numbers worldwide, it's not just Canada alone. Gender inequity dominates every nook and cranny of society, and this inequality must change for gender parity to be a reality. The good news is that the achievements of women around the world, no matter how small, highlight how far we have come. We must continue to organize and strategize to create the necessary changes to achieve parity so that women can take our rightful places in societies. We must band together and form allyships with women and men around the world. And this brings me to my meeting with Dr. Chawla in Boston, as she mentioned. We first met at Harvard University. It was evident that we were from different countries, from different worlds, but that didn't stop us. Instead of focusing on our differences, we focused on our similarities. I had never taken so many pictures in my life. We must have taken a picture under every sign that said Harvard. And then we found out that we were going to Princeton together as well. We were presenting at another academic conference in Princeton. And so we went off our separate ways to visit with family. And then the following week, we met up again at Princeton. Of course, this time I had some hard rules that I'm not taking so many pictures. So her phone memory was full and it saved me. By the time she would try to send the pictures to her son and catch me to take a picture, I'd disappear somewhere in the room. But all in all, I'm saying all of this to say we did not let our cultural differences, the fact that we were from different worlds, we did not let that get in the way. We were both two strangers that focused on what connected us rather than what separated us. I learned about her family, she learned about mine. I got to know some of her likes and dislikes, and she did the same. We definitely did not agree on everything because we both have strong opinions about just about everything. But here we are collaborating and creating awareness to empower. That is the power that drives change. This brings me to the teachers in training at Government College who have tuned in today. You're probably wondering about my take on education and empowerment. Well, it is education that opened the doors and created access to many platforms and spaces that I have access to today. My journey through the different levels of university is still ongoing, but throughout the process, I came to realize that I have a lot to say. With each degree that I completed, I realized that I could reach a larger audience to say what I have to say when I choose to say it. And that kept me going. It opened a path for me to have a voice in spaces where I would not normally have a voice or even have access to. It was education that gave me the confidence to sit quietly in a room and be patient. And when I decide to say something, I could speak up with confidence. I must caution, however, because whenever I speak about education or overcoming challenges as a woman in the Western world, I know it can look very different for women in non-Western countries. In that regard, do not be afraid to contextualize education, because education is more than learning within a classroom and can extend beyond the walls of institutions. It is learning about how we function in a society, and that too is part of education. Depending on where in the world you are as a woman, education can mean how to figure out where to find food for your family, or simply how to survive one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, or 1 hour at a time. You can teach those skills to another girl, your daughter, your sister, your friend, and so on. One woman, one family, one village at a time. I did not learn about limits simply because I am a girl. Instead, I learned from an early age that I can be as curious as my brothers since I am a girl. So don't be afraid to dream and seek change for the better. So let me share my 4 P's with you that keeps me focused. The first one is plan. I always have a framework of a plan. For me, it's not about having a distinct plan. For once I achieve that plan, then what? So I choose to have a framework of a plan that gives me the flexibility and more room to grow and to move the pieces and to achieve as I go along. I believe the frameworks also provide me with more options. The second is perspective. The vision and flexibility to both recognize opportunities or potential opportunities and make the changes that will put me in the position to receive these opportunities. The next is purpose. Whatever I am doing, I give it everything I've got. Because while failure is not an option, failure may very well be the takeaway or the end result in that moment. In that case, I look for the learning in that experience. In that moment, I can use that lesson to enhance my journey for the next venture. What is done, but I can certainly move on. And last but not least, perseverance. No matter what, I keep moving forward. And no for me is an answer. It's a response. That no can turn into a yes if I keep at it. There are times when it is necessary to suspend my thoughts and simply place one foot in front of the other. The belief that the universe will take care of me and will not throw a curveball my way without a reason keeps me moving forward. That's perseverance for me. And so with a plan, a purpose, perspective, and perseverance, I move forward with curiosity to keep up with life and forge a window into this world. We have a global movement where we must continue to challenge, we have a global movement where we must continue to challenge gender biases and inequities within the institutions and structures in our societies. These biases and inequities are deeply ingrained in different prisms in society, and the beneficiaries of these discriminatory and oppressive forces are enjoying the spoils and are determined to keep things the way they are. But we are more determined than ever to achieve equality for women around the world. In the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap report that I mentioned earlier for 2020, founder and chairman Klaus Schwab points out that an accelerated pathway to gender parity will require companies to treat people with dignity and respect and offer equal opportunities to all members of society, leveraging gender diversity and investing in all of their talent through ongoing upskilling and reskilling. Governments must create policies that provide talent development, integration, and deployment opportunities for all genders, diversify the leadership pool, and provide support to families and caregivers in both youthful and aging societies alike. Business and government must work together to create a new economic and social narrative for action and coordinate and speed up the process of change. To the question posed on Women's Day International.com's website, how will you help forge a gender equal world? The answer? By celebrating women's achievements, by raising awareness against biases, taking action for equality, and I will add, through education. The theme for this webinar, Threading the Global Pearls, I will also add, through collaboration and education, to empower. Among the central beliefs on which a platform calling us to action rests is the requirement that we do events like these to empower women, advance philanthropic work to raise awareness, and engage in fundraising to promote our message to uplift women and increase their visibility around the world. We must collaborate by forming key partnerships through shared missions, which all require strong action. Until women around the world are on equal footing in all levels of society, until women around the world achieve gender parity and stay on that trajectory, our work must continue feverishly. For far too long, women around the world have carried our societies in our wombs and on our backs, yet we're treated as less than. We are discriminated against, marginalized, and beaten down. But we must know our value added as women. So let us educate ourselves and collaborate to take stronger action towards empowerment of women, towards empowerment of each other, towards empowerment of women around the world. So in closing, as you continue to listen to today's speakers, I would like you to open your minds to celebrate women, their achievements, and join with them to tackle the challenges that they face, to create awareness and collaborate to educate and empower. I thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really empowering session, actually. After hearing so much of information about the women's statistics over the world and their roles that they are playing throughout the world and throughout the processes which are ongoing in the world, I feel really empowered to be a woman. And actually, we are a really great contributors towards what is actually what we call as growth and development. So I thank you a lot, ma'am, for giving us so much of informative data. So there are like few journal inquiries which are being posted by our students, and the number one is what do you think that what can be the major steps to bring the gender equality? I mean, it's a huge question. So what are your views on that?
It is indeed a huge question. And I will pose one of my own. Why do we have inequality in gender when we have enough information, enough statistics, enough studies to show that women can do and contribute to all aspects of society? Why do we still have that? There is the status quo to maintain, and I talk about culture, different cultures. There is individuals who are currently benefiting from the situation. There's discrimination, there's oppression, there is this belief that one sex is better than the other. And considering where we are at this time, in this age, when we know better, when we can do better, why aren't we doing that? We need to hold our leaders, our elected officials accountable. We need to have strong voices in the places where decisions are made. We need female representation in all these spaces. We need to elect our own female officials. We need to ensure that women are represented in all aspects of society, in all areas where changes are made. So I may not be able to answer your question fully about the why, but I want to say, why not? Why not as women push for more? Why not as women demand more? It is not up to us to change our circumstances because we didn't create them, but we can certainly fight to get the responses and the answers that we need. So I would encourage every single woman who is listening to find their voices, to collaborate, to engage with other women around the world. The same that is happening right now. We don't have to agree on everything, but find the things that we can agree and convene around and congregate around and rally around and raise our voices, because we have the power, we have the presence, and we have the strength.
Yeah, ma'am. It was such a brilliant explanation, ma'am. So, ma'am, another question, what was being asked, it was, what was your first step? You took in order to have the gender equality around you.
Again, I can't claim that I have gender equality around me right just as yet, because again, this issue it's worldwide. It's bigger than any one person. But in going in my daily travels, and that was what brought me here. I network with other women. I empower women. I listen to other women. I encourage other women. I take the time to share with other women. And through that, I believe, through that networking, one woman at a time, one sister at a time, one relative at a time, one female at a time, that will push us forward. It's almost like building a human pyramid where we stand on each other's shoulders, where we support each other. When we're weak, pick each other up and move forward, keep moving forward. And that's how I surround myself by women who can pick me up when I'm down, women I can look to, women I can lean on, women I can get advice from, women who can pull me up to say, hey, refocus. And so that is how I keep positive and keep moving forward. We're still far from acquiring gender equality. So that work continues.
Okay, Emily, do you have any question for Dalon?
Good morning, everybody, and Damon, thank you so much for that wonderful, take on all of us women around the world. And you made such a fantastic statement when you said that you met Dr. Ravneet, who happens to be my childhood friend as well. And you mentioned so beautifully that you knew and recognized that there were differences in the way you think, but you chose to connect on the commonalities. And I think that is so powerful. I also agree and believe, as women, it is important for us not only to stand up for what we believe in, but also to help other women, one sister at a time, like you said, to rise. And together we will all rise. Thank you so very much for those highly encouraging and empowering thoughts. It's amazing that all of us across the globe think so similarly.
Absolutely. And that is definitely where the power comes in. We have more in common than we realize. And if we take the time to seek out those commonalities, we will be a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, trust me, we already are.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, there has been an immediate connect actually. Something by default, we could immediately connect, and as if we knew each other for a very long time, and discovering that we were the only two wise women out of the whole crowd who thought that okay, doing two Ivy League universities in one go, so at the gap of a couple of days. So we discovered that okay, there was something common about the way we think at about the same age. And then we were shopping at the cooperative store of the university where we thought to take souvenirs from our children. We were again thinking in the same way. We were choosing about the same things. So that is in a way a very unsaid discovery of how we women think alike. How we, I appreciate Dalon. Her room was closer to the venue at the Boston near the Harvard Medical College. I was a little away where I was lodged. And she wanted to go for a cafe in the hotel. She left the entire room to me. Dalon, I'm telling it here on air. So the kind of comfort and trust I appreciate so much. We could immediately connect, having met only a few hours back. We had met in the day, and in the evening there was a comfort level, and we were talking about 1,000 things which are like unsaid and said. So yes, there is so much common, and that's the beauty of bringing in women and also young Amrita to us, who is observing, listening. Amrita, do you have a question for Professor Dalon? Do you have any observation? Would you like a comment on any observation that you have?
Well, first, I want to say thank you for your inspiring words, Dr. Taylor. I think behalf on kind of the youth listening, we view everyone kind of on this panel as role models that we look up to. And it's so empowering to see that our voices are being heard, and for the future that we can take over kind of this fight, as you said. I think the most important part, like you mentioned, is that representation. I see that representation in all the strong and powerful women I see on this panel today. And that's really encouraging for me as a youth to kind of continue that fight and continue pushing for the equality you speak of, that, one day we can attain that kind of perfect world in the future. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm really pleased to see young people getting involved, because it definitely will take. Truthfully, I don't expect to achieve all that we're fighting for in my lifetime. Unfortunately, I mean, the statistics that I just read out, it will take at least 99 and a half years, and in some cases up to 257 years for parity in opportunities for women. And so I don't think any of us will be, I mean, especially us older ones, will be around, for that long. So it does require your generation and younger generations to really, push forward with us, learn from us. We can learn from you too, and fight the fight that needs to happen for us to realize, to get to that point where women have the same rights as women, as men, because after all, we're in the same world. We are all human beings, and if we look at each other as that first and foremost, with the same rights, the same dignity, affected in many of the same ways, we push forward and be more open to, for those who are resisting, women having certain places in society. We will be more open to, because the society will be better off for it. Now, when you look at how many women are excluded from the workforce in this day and age, if that is not foolish, what country would not benefit from having women at every level in society? And so it raises question, why does this, and to go back to one of the questions I was asked, why does this keep happening? Who is this benefiting? So
That's
your
right.
generation is crucial, really crucial in pushing these messages and moving forward closer to our goal.
Thank you, Dalon. Do we have any more questions, or should we move to to Amrita's session? Okay. Okay.
I just want to
So-
say thank you very much for having me, and thank you again, Dr. Chawla, for this opportunity.
Professor Dalon, you are with us. I know we will have your observations of the 3 sessions. We
Yes,
carry
I'll
on.
be back for the closing remarks.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. So thank you very much for enlightening our students, our faculty, and giving cross-cultural perspective. And definitely, like you said, the commonalities which make sense, which dissolve the boundaries, and we think alike, and we are sensitized further and reinforced towards our efforts to move on with the grit, and of course has a message for the gentlemen around to be sensitive, and definitely we would also like to take everyone along, kind of creating the equalitarian culture in the true sense.
Yes.
Thank you.
We
Thank you so
absolutely
much.
need allies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So we move on to another session by a very inspiring young Amrita. Here I go with her session. Okay. So I'm very happy to introduce this young, inspiring achiever, Amrita Kaur. She's from Orange County, California, and an exit batch from a very prestigious school. She's done 13 years as Girl Scout and has been bestowed with a gold award for her continuous perseverance services. She's a blood donor ambassador for the American Red Cross. She's President's Awardee for the Volunteer Service, a civil honor granted by the Office of the President of United States. She's a Bhangra dancer. She's projected and performed at various prestigious platforms, including the International UCLA Bro and competition twice. Her achievements are so many. She's been humbled to share not too many of her achievements here. I must mention here the plural acceptances that she's getting from the top American universities. She's full of humility. Her family is full of humility. The last memory that I have of being in a choir with her huge saxophone as tall as she is. She's a basketball player. She follows Lakers like a dedicated fan. If you want to buy a sportswear, Amrita is the one who would tell you every detail of every brand, of how everyone looks at it. I can go on and on and on with Amrita's achievements, with the delicious cookies that she makes, the community service that she does, how well she has performed for the community during the COVID. Her community service at the Gurdwaras to do the COVID services and other services of late. She's a marathon runner. She climbs tough mountains so smoothly with her inspiring parents, especially her father. Amrita, today is your dad's birthday. We know, and I congratulate you to be sharing a global platform and giving this kind of virtual treat to your dad on his birthday. To your parents who brought you up so well. Amrita is born and brought up in America. She's a dedicated school student. She's ready for the prestigious universities In fact, it's like going to a menu card and choosing which pizza to have. It's the stores, the pizza houses privilege to which pizza will be chosen. I want Amrita to come about with her few universities, that the letters that she has in her pocket already. Over to Amrita to for her experiences and however you want to do with it, Amrita. You're welcome. We are so proud of you as a young achiever. We take a message from you as to how to optimize utilizing 24 hours that each one of us equally. How our pupil teachers can value a student in class, how parents can contribute more to grooming children, especially girls. You are a role model, and your family is a role model for so many of us to take a message from. Over to you, dear Amrita.
Thank you so much, Dr. Javla, for your kind introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to start. I have a kind of presentation and slideshow for you all today. Okay. So, of course, thank you. First, I'd like to thank you all and the Government College of Education for having me here today. It is my honor to share my perspective and speak to you all. And of course, wishing everyone watching a happy International Women's Day. In this session, I look forward to sharing my perspective and experiences as mentioned, as a young woman of Indian heritage living abroad. I'm born and raised in Orange County, California, where I'm proud to be an active youth citizen, and I'm excited to share my background and where I find the motivation, intrinsically or intrinsically, to strive for success and excellence in various aspects of my life and kind of give the perspective of a student and a youth. So, kind of, as you can see on the slides, exactly 1 year ago today, I celebrated International Women's Day at this girls' empowerment camp that was hosted by Orange County's Fire Authority. I learned how to rappel out of a 3-story building, climb an aerial ladder, use a chainsaw, and so much more. And their message was that even though firefighting is a profession with a male dominance, anyone can be whatever they want to be. And I think that message really has resonated with me, and it's something that I have tried to embody with everything that I do. I want to start with one of my involvements that Dr. Chawla mentioned, my 13 years of Girl Scouting. That really allowed me to prove to myself the very ideal of exploring my potential. Girl Scouts, being a worldwide organization, would be the equivalent of, I would say, Girl Guides in India and in other countries. And here in America, Girl Scouts has been inspiring and influencing young girls to make a change since 1912. And for me, my Girl Scout journey started when I was about 4 years old. The values I practice as a Scout of character and compassion are evident in how I carry myself every day. Having this network across the globe, really, of fellow sisters and being a part of something that's so much bigger than myself has empowered me and really built my confidence. I think we go back to the message of we're all kind of women in different cultures that kind of look past that to kind of fight for that equality, like we mentioned before. Pictured here are just a taste of, I would say, the opportunities that I've been blessed with and that I've had through scouting. I have attended the same Girl Scout day camp since I was little. And now as an older Girl Scout and as a mentor, I'm proud to be part of the team that kind of hosts and puts together that very camp. And we host for about 350 girls every summer. On the right is a picture of my presentation at that camp, teaching young girls the importance of eating locally and building those sustainable, healthy habits. And then also there is a picture of my 2nd grade unit that I lead every year at camp. And also we have a few members of my Girl Scout troop, along with my wonderful troop leader. After having earned my Girl Scout Gold Award, or after earned my Girl Scout Bronze and Silver Award, my Gold Award is currently in progress. I have learned that as girls and as young women, our voice is valuable, our voice is needed, and our voice is really capable of changing the world. We just have to use it, and I think webinars and sessions like this empower us to do so. So kind of taking that initiative, that kind of skill I learned through Girl Scouts is something that I've carried throughout my other activities and throughout my other service projects. As mentioned, I've been very, very active with the American Red Cross since about August 2017. In that year, I founded a Red Cross chapter at my school. I saw kind of that need in my community, in my campus, at my school, and decided to take that initiative and fill it. Something that I did learn with scouting. So at my school, I grew a community of about 30 plus members, and we actively contribute to our campus, our school, and our community. So we host blood drives, food pantry volunteering, and also work with the local fire authority to install smoke alarms in our local community, because Southern California does have a high risk of home fires for our dry conditions. So starting that chapter and leading that group kind of from scratch, building my own board and making my presence known on campus was definitely intimidating at first. I was new to my school when I founded the club, and most students were older than me and didn't really take my leadership seriously. So I did have to prove that my capability and capacity could kind of grow this community and to what we are now, achieving really great things. Outside of my club, I work as a blood donor ambassador for the Red Cross, something that I've been doing for the past 4 years. And so I manage our local blood donation center every Saturday morning, starting at 7 a.m. And I interact with thousands of Orange County donors, really. And I've learned that each individual has a story. Each individual has a reason for coming in, walking into that donation center. And in that kind of sense, I have my own. In 2016, my grandfather, he actually lives in Chandigarh, was diagnosed with cancer. And me literally sitting half a world away, I really did feel helpless. And since his treatment was largely dependent on blood and platelet donations and transfusions, I made it my mission to support similar patients close by to me. I acknowledge that my community, I live in a town called Ladera Ranch, did not have a great accessibility to blood drives. And I worked with our town event coordinators and the Orange County Red Cross to establish our first community blood drive. Again, that initiative that I think is so important that I learned through Girl Scouting. This event now occurs annually, and I'm proud to say that Ladera Ranch has saved up to 1,161 lives so far through our blood drives. I'm now taking that project a step further and focusing my ongoing Girl Scout Gold Award on educating the next generation of lifelong platelet donors. On that note, I encourage you, wherever you are, if you're healthy and have the means to safely donate blood or platelets, to indeed do so and to encourage those around you to donate as well, because that donation is not only a gift of your time, but really you're giving the gift of life, which is, I think, really magical that we have the capacity to do that. Continuing with that civic engagement, I am currently serve as the president of my town's Teen Leadership Council, a group of select teens who lead town events and workshops in Ladera. And that council requires an interview and application process to kind of serve on the council. And so the first time I applied, I was denied membership. And I felt crushed. I felt defeated. And so, yeah, I failed. But I think in retrospect, it's not that moment that I think defines you, but rather your reaction to it. So regardless of that outcome, I reapplied to the council a couple of years later, and I have been serving on it now for 4 years and currently, again, serve as president. Those photos on the right are my presentation to my town board to earn our council budget and event approvals. And so on the far left, I was recently recognized as Ladera Ranch's Teen Volunteer of the Year. So I think, again, that persistence that Dr. Taylor mentioned earlier is really important because a young girl who was denied even membership to this council now leads it 4 years later and is recognized and can capture our respective town boards' interest as a respected partner. So I think you really just can't say no. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. I often feel that way, but it is so important to learn to rest and get back to it than quit altogether. So I do heavily enjoy my civic and community engagement, but I am 17 years old and I do have a lot of other athletic and I would say creative outlets where I thrive. And that more importantly, that I enjoy. I've played basketball for the past 6 years, and I actually have a short 15-second highlight reel of a single pass game to show, and I believe I'm in the third clip. So hopefully the volume, I don't know. So that's just a little kind of synopsis of basketball and my time on the court. So I have been playing for many years. For me, the court is kind of an escape. I have made many close friends through the sport, and I know that now, before just teammates, those friends are really family. We know how to anticipate each other. We know how to work alongside each other. Early morning practices, late night bus rides home, you really kind of grow that bond. And that's the same thing. It's women encouraging women on the court. And we're empowering each other and we're supporting each other regardless of the outcome, that we always know that we're a team. And I think it's so important to find that group of people, wherever that might be, because that support system is so crucial. But going back to the fact that it is International Women's Day, I can't help but mention that although I currently play at my high school on a team that's all girls, on a girls team, it wasn't always that way. I actually started playing basketball on an all-boys team in an all-boys league. It was uncomfortable at times, and I was just starting off, so a lot of the boys were far better than me at the time. But that was something that I really had to learn how to ignore. I focused on my game, I focused on myself, and in hindsight, I'm really grateful for that experience to play on an all-boys league. I think it's just an instance of how we can never let others' perception dictate our actions, and that, life is really a mirror. The effort and the work you put into it is really what you get out. And on that note, I would also like to emphasize that the goals I set for myself are really for myself. And so many of my other athletic pursuits are not categorized or defined by a league or a team. They're really just kind of challenges I've come up with to kind of push myself. For example, I challenged myself to run 16 5K races before I turned 16 within the course of a year, which I did. I challenged myself to run 100K over the course of 3 weeks this past July. And I challenged myself to hike Mount San Antonio, which is the tallest peak in Los Angeles County, at 10,064 feet. The hike, as Dr. Chawla mentioned, is something that I did with my dad, so I am really grateful for his support in that challenge. But what I strive to say is that you push yourself towards your own greatness. I didn't have to run those races. No one was telling me to run those races. No one was telling me to hike that hike. But it is something that I found gratification from. And again, that sense of pushing your limits looks different for different people. And as long as you have a way to motivate and stretch and push yourself, because I think it's hard to find greatness and success when you're comfortable. So beyond those athletic pursuits, I also played the violin for many years. I did kind of retire my violin career a couple of years ago just because I was very busy with school. But those are a couple of images of some groups I've performed with. And but my main creative outlet has been Bhangra. I've been dancing since I was very little, as you can see, and I've danced on many teams throughout the years, and I've even coached my own crew of 6-year-olds. So it's a co-ed, girls and boys, kind of enjoying the dance, enjoying the stage together. Bhangra is a way for me to preserve and share my Punjabi culture, living in Southern California, and I really do enjoy staying in touch with my roots, and I'm thrilled to have been able to dance and compete for so long. As mentioned, I also have showcased at the International UCLA Bruin competition twice for about 2,000 spectators at the Orpheum Theater, Los Angeles. And I do have a short clip of one of those performances to share. It's about a minute long. But again, Bhangra is something that I do for the pure joy of it. I think of being on stage, the burn of those lights and the adrenaline rush is really why I do it. So I do have that clip. I'm wearing dark royal blue on the left for reference. So. So that was just a short snippet to kind of show you. Alongside Bagra, I do, with the help of my parents, have done my best to preserve my Sikh identity. So let me switch the slide. So I do stay in contact with my local Gurdwara and do what I can really, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic, to serve my community. I think that togetherness and that unity is so important. And I have, I think, found a place during this pandemic where I can do such a thing. So kind of keeping my Sikh identity and being able to stay in touch with those roots, it's so important to stay true to who you are. So with my Sikh Center during the COVID-19 pandemic, I helped pack and serve meals to those who needed them. And I think we truly do make time for the things that are important to us. And my community, that sense of unity and togetherness definitely does take precedent for me. Also, the picture on the right, I had the opportunity to work on the Sikh American float that was part of the 2020 Rose Parade in Pasadena, California. Again, that was a way in which I celebrated my identity. I think we should all be proud of our backgrounds, celebrate them, and practice compassion, really, when learning about other people and interacting with other people from different backgrounds of our own. So I have covered a lot of my passions outside the classroom, but at the end of the day, I am still a student. And so my academic interests lean towards biology and the biological sciences. So I'm looking to pursue either public health outreach and policy or clinical medicine, but that's as of right now. So I have no idea what the future holds. But I'm proud to be in the top decile of my class and kind of in terms of academics, be on the track to graduate in the spring, having completed a rigorous curriculum and with a straight A record. So in the summer of 2019, I researched the mathematical modeling of biological systems at the University of California, Davis in their Cosmos program. And after building a coding background and studying concepts like game theory to understand biological interactions and phenomena, I wrote my own program kind of modeling antibiotic resistance evolution. I included and numerically defined various parameters from bacteria strain, environmental conditions, and antibiotic strength to analyze how future public health interventions affect the accumulated resistance issue. I synthesized that project's results and in a formal report to present to a panel of UC Davis professors and PhD students. So I continue to take every opportunity to explore these interests, and as I look at the next phase of my life, I hope to explore how the approaches that I focused on the cellular level in that program can be redesigned to predict complex societal relationships and really inform evidence-based health policy. Again, focusing on that idea of equality for women in kind of the public health sector as well. As Dr. Chawla mentioned, March and early April are university decision months here in the US, so I am awaiting many of those decisions still. So far, I've been accepted to the University of California at Berkeley, the University of California, Irvine, and the Georgia Institute of Technology. But again, I'm still waiting to hear from many, many more in the coming weeks. So as I near the end of my session, I would like to close with this. So on this day, celebrating women all over the world, I would like to say that as women and as girls, there are so many expectations from society that I feel are conventionally forced upon us. But really, I would like everyone to think that the only expectation that you need to meet are the ones that you make for yourself. You do not need to do anything for anyone else. You do what you want for yourself, and success, and most importantly, happiness, I think will follow. So be where your feet are. And when I say that, I mean take every day one at a time. Take everything in stride and know that you have so many people cheering you on, because it really does take a village. I'm so grateful to have been blessed with an amazing family that supports me no matter what. So appreciative of my mom, my dad, and my sister, because I truly could not be the person that I am without them. So, and with that, I thank you for having me today. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your very motivating.
Thank you, Amrita. Big clap for you. We missed the live audience, but it touches every listener, I think. But can we have comments from Professor Dalon, please?
Wow. Wow. How do you even find the time? That is amazing. I'm here scribbling and I'm writing and I'm like, and she does, and something else and something. And then she talks about the classroom. Like, with all of that, how do you even find time to be in the classroom? And then this is so great. This is so wonderful. Your parents must be so proud. You must be proud of what you do. I don't know how you find the energy. 17 years old? I can't even remember what I was doing when I was 17 years old. But this is great. This is talk about being driven. Talk about having a purpose. Talk about being focused. This is wonderful. My question to you, though, is what would you say to other young people your age? How would you encourage or motivate them to as you talk about civic engagement and community and building a family, how would you encourage them to be their best selves at this age?
Yeah, of course. So I think that everything I do, I know from experience, is something that I genuinely care about, is something that I genuinely have passion for. And I think that's a big seed in my success, because if you don't genuinely care about what you're doing and the people you're serving, it won't come across as powerful as it can be. So I've tried many activities throughout my life, but I really only stuck with the things that had importance and had meaning to me. So for people looking for kind of where to start, where to find and kind of go on that path towards whatever success means to them, because it looks different for all of us, I would say pinpoint what matters to you. I truly believe that everyone will make time for the things that matter to you. And so that, I think, is a perfect place to start. And of course, be open to change, adaptability. Nothing goes according to plan, ever. It never happens as you anticipate it to. So take everything with stride, be in the moment. And so that's why I kind of live by that slogan, be where your feet are, because your mind can be in 100 places. But where your feet are, and that's what you have to kind of give your attention to and give your focus to, because that drive is what's going to take you far.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear Emily, any observations, anything for Amrita? I think I'm requesting in between because Amrita still has homework and she wants to leave. And it's past midnight for her.
I just want to say thank you, Amrita. I just say you are amazing. And I just want to say that you've made such amazing observations at 17 that a lot of women around are still trying to grope their way around. You know, being where your feet are is such a fantastic takeaway. Knowing when to embrace your failure and learn a lesson from there and get to where you are is just talking about your perseverance. And the fact that you challenge yourself is something that is so striking. So I'm not going to keep you further from hitting the bed. You have a long day ahead of you. But thank you so much. And I love the fact that you are continuing to stay abreast and giving back to society, being us culturally. I need to do that to you. Thank you so very much. And
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
So we have questions from the audience. Himanshi, can you bring in questions? Any question?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to tell you that, ma'am, we are all mesmerized by your all achievements and all your spellbounded activities you just told us in such a small session. There's a small personal questions from my side that I would like to ask, that what encourages you back to pull your up your socks and get back to climb the difficult hurdles with the prettiest smile on your face, ma'am?
I would just say that I think every day you're given 24 hours and you can do whatever you want with them. And for me, something that I do every night is I write a diary every night, without fail, no matter how tired I am. It could be my dreams and my goals, or it could be what I ate for breakfast that day. So it really ranges. And I think putting pen to paper and at the end of the day, kind of writing down that, yes, I accomplished this, or yes, I took this small step, is really important for me, because I think that objectively you get to define your growth and you get to look back on it. And I think really just be proud of yourself. Do I have days where I just did not accomplish anything? Yes. But those days, I think I call them rest days. That's okay. I think just taking everything, again, one step at a time, one day at a time, and kind of rewarding yourself and being proud of yourself along the way.
Do we have any more questions?
Okay, there's a small question from one person, ma'am. There is, what is leadership to you? In small.
Leadership, yeah. I would say leadership is having a vision, it's having a goal, and having a plan to kind of guide your team to get there. Because leaders are not defined by how many tasks they can tell people to do or how strict they are. They're really defined by how much respect they can gather from their subordinates or their peers. I think an effective leader is someone who listens, who is kind and compassionate. No one wants to listen to someone who is daunting or who is demeaning to them. I think that respect is key in having a successful team. We see it on the basketball court all the time. Do we have team captains? Yes, we do. But those team captains never put themselves above another person. They never, even if they're calling the drills, they never kind of sit back and say, you can run lines, but I'm just going to sit here and sip my water or something. A leader is a part of the team, but it's just someone with more experience and a little more vision and a little more direction that can guide and, really guide that success of their subordinates. And every one of those subordinates and every one of those peers has the opportunity to be a leader. It's just learning from the people who come before us and gathering those skills.
Are you sure you're 17 years old? You sound so wise beyond your years.
Thank you.
Aarti, ma'am, any question?
No, ma'am, we are done with the questions and answers right now.
Directly marks the are you seriously 17 years old? Because you have achieved so much at such an age that you are an inspiration for all of us.
Thank
So
you.
I would like to thank you for all the experiences you have shared with us. And it has been wonderful listening to you and your experiencing. And I am sure that our teacher educator must have learned and they must have get motivated from all that you have shared with us. And I would also like to congratulate you for achieving so much at such an age. And you are truly an inspiration.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for joining.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much
Amrita.
for having me.
Thank you, Amrita. A big hug to you. Lots of love and wish you all the best for your next career, your completing the 12th, and all of the endeavors that you take up. Lots of love. Thank you for being with us. So in case you can hang on, it will be nice. In case you think you have homework, you may.
Yeah, the teachers, they keep assigning. It never stops.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Thank you.
but
Thank you for
thank
being
you.
with us. All the
Yeah.
best. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the next session, I have my childhood buddy, Emily. Um, it's overwhelming to speak about Emily. People who know Emily love Emily. In fact, she is such a compassionate person that she teaches one to love life, to spread love, to be a human being. Uh, she's had her childhood and her college days and her formal education, the main chunk of her getting to that, entering into the first profession with us in North India. She's now based in Chennai. Before I get to her slides, I must speak my heart out. I don't want to distract myself with those formalities because Emily is a phenomena. Emily is a friend. Emily is a great woman. Emily is such a fantastic human being. Uh, how beautiful experiences must those trainees be having in her classroom? Emily is a habitual gold medalist. Her scores and the person on second position would have a huge gap. Our teachers from this college also, her mentors get touched when we speak about her. Her mentors, I sent the links to her. They are different invitees. They are invited to different ceremonies today. They've sent lots of love to you, Emily, Madhukal ma'am, Jasveer Chahal ma'am. They still have her notebooks and her answer books saved with them. We were together for our classroom from 1984 to 87 in graduation, 87 to 89 in parallel masters. And she's the reason that I did B.Ed. Because my marriage was fixed and it was Emily and the reference, okay, my friends are doing, so I want to do Emily, to study B.Ed with Emily. Because, one reason. So I was a new married girl and she was the one who had immediate stories to listen to. I was adjusting with my new life. I have cried 1,000 times in front of Emily for different reasons. We still, we are the, by default, maybe even if we talk once in 1 month, once in 2 months, once in 3 months, we just pick up from where we left. And by default, I think we call each other when we, some telepathy occurs that we call each other, even if it's been days or months, because we keep busy. Having her in one's journey in whatever capacity is a delight. More people we will be friends and will have Emily from today onwards in their life. She's an amazing person. And now let me share with you what she sent me. She took two MBA after her BSc and MSc and B.Ed gold medals. Roll number 444 for this college has her name on the honors board. We are so proud of you, Emily. She attempted MBA from Exela after many years, maybe I think Emily 1.5 decades or so after her last education, formal education here in North India. She still bagged a gold medal and 5th rank All India. Emily is more of a perfect learner than of what she is now, because that she's learning, she's an amazing person and giving it back to the community. Then she did her again in her Indian Society for Training and Development training also she bagged first rank. She's been assistant vice president with this setup, Exela Technologies, with Zenta Knowledge Services. She's certified in Superhumans Triple T 101 curriculum on international experimental training, has done 100 days of intensive sessions, coaching interactions, with focused trainings on empowering and equipping trainers into transformers and dynamic facilitators. Prestigious workshops to Art Michelle, career coaching, UK on leadership and team building, and her further trainings on target setting, feedback and leadership, Mike Collins leadership management and organizational development approach, sustainability and development of people, process, performance, productivity, profitability, Train the Trainer workshop by British Council Chennai. These are to name a few. Emily is a brand, and we are so in love with this trainer, with the person, with the woman that you are. Over to you, Emily, for your session, for your deliberations, for your hearty talk. We're looking forward to. Over to you, Em.
First of all, let me begin by saying you've just taken my breath away, Ravneet. And I think, thank you so much for all of that love, which is so genuine and sincere. And I think that is something that brands both of us. The fact that we are so genuine, the fact that we are so real and honest in what we share. So, Dr. Ravneet mentioned, my beginnings were in Chandigarh, the city beautiful. And we have this common thread between us. Started my life journey there, spent my first 25 years and did fairly impressively well in my academics by God's grace and the love and affection and support of a fantastic family, lovely friends, ever indebted to my teachers, the way they guided us, the way they nurtured us. And I'm so glad that I got this opportunity to share some time with you about, my journey as I transitioned from being a learner to where I am today, being able to share what I've learned with others. And I've never doubted that I always wanted to be, into training, into learning and development, because that I feel is such a blessing to be. That we are able to transform lives. We are able to make people do well for themselves, enhance where they are. So Government College of Education has a special place in my heart for the very fact that it was one of the first institutions that gave me an opportunity to, actually step into a mini real world, in the sense that the institutions that I had passed out of before, earlier, for example, I did my class 10 from Carmel Convent, went on to do my pre-university from Government College for Girls, and then my 3 years of graduation and 2 years of post-graduation, again in Government Home Science College. These were all women, girl institutions. And Government College of Education gave me the opportunity to rub shoulders and learn to coexist peacefully, productively, and happily, collaborating with men. So that's unique for me. And yes, Ravneet said it. It was roll number 444 for me. And I still hold my roll of honor badge with a lot of pride. And when called me a week ago, and she said that, would you, participate with us? I just said yes without thinking twice. But then, of course, she also asked me, what would you like to talk about? And well, that took me a moment to think again. And then I said, okay, since it is going to be about International Women's Day, why don't we elaborate and converse more about, the theme that it is for the International Women's Day for 2021, which is Choose to Challenge. And I said, we will delve a little further into that. And let's try to look at choosing your challenges and challenging choices. So Ravneet, I did send a couple of slides. If you could have them shared as well, that would help. It will just help give a little bit of a perspective.
Yes, just a moment.
Sure.
Gurbina is doing it. Gurbina is doing it, yeah.
Perfect. So while we work on having that set up, I just thought to let you know that this is the story between what I decided to talk about today, which was choose your challenges and challenge your choices. If you move to the next slide, you will see snapshots of what I just held up for you.
Wow.
The small, but sometimes it is the small things which are actually the big things, right? The small roll of honor badge that I received, and my receiving the outgoing certificate for bagging the first place in the batch of 1989 to 1990. So there you are, going on, talking about choosing your challenges and challenging your choices. What are choices? A small word with a big impact. Choices are something that come at us at all times. And if you move on to the next slide, Gurbina, the first thing that I want to talk about is you are always making choices. In fact, research indicates that in an average day, a person is bombarded with around 35,000 choices. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the average sleeping hours of a person, I'm not talking about the binge Netflixing or, Instagramming audience right now, but an average person, if he sleeps around 7 hours in a day, that leaves us with about 2,000 choices in an hour. And that means you're making a choice every 2 seconds. That's the number of choices that keep coming up to you. You just heard Amrita, and she said that, she chooses out of so many things to do in 24 hours. She chooses what she would want to spend her time, her effort, her energy on, right? Now, I do get it that there are times when we don't have control over our choices. correct? For example, we don't get to choose which family we are born to, or what country that we will be born in. We don't get to choose. Perhaps our parents might, but we don't get to choose that, right? But definitely there are choices that we can control and we should control. So just thinking that, we are making or taking opportunities that we really don't have any much control over, that I don't really go along with as a statement that we must choose or believe. For example, I may not be able to choose the color of my skin, but I definitely get to choose how I project myself, how I present myself, how I choose to behave, how I choose my attitude. Am I going to foster a learning attitude, or am I going to be like, I've tried this, I can't do this anymore, and am I going to just take a different kind of a choice there? Similarly, I think at this point in time, we are so spoilt for choices. I think Dr. Ravneet will agree with me. When we were growing, we had fairly limited choices. It was just like, you want to have tea or coffee. A few of us who were a little more adventurous, you want cold coffee or you want coffee. And now you have cold coffee, you have espresso, you have latte, you have frappe. I don't even know how to pronounce many of those. The tea guys didn't want to be left behind. So you have green tea, you have herbal tea, you have, floral teas, and so forth. We're spoiled for choices. And these choices have percolated across, right? For example, the status that we had when we were filling in forms was, we just had 3 very simple boxes. Either you're single or you're married or you are, the third box we never even bothered much about, because 98-99% of us filled either one of the first 2 boxes. Today, if you look at the status options which are available for us, they're quite interesting. So you do have the single and the married, but you have so many others as well. There are options like committed, complicated. And there are options like, I even saw another one very recently, depends on who's asking, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I would urge everybody who's listening in, please understand that we're not just bombarded with choices and we're not just flowing in the flow of choices. We get to choose, and let's choose wisely. All right. I'll give you a couple of examples about the choices that we made, or the choices that can make a difference. Do these choices really make a difference? Do they impact us? Right? So coming to the fact that choices also come with an expiry date. There is a timeline for within when you want to make a choice. I remember I had completed my B.Ed, and I had also enrolled for M.Ed in Punjab University. And at that point in time, I had, just like everybody else would, also enrolled in the employment bureau. And I suddenly got a mail which indicated to me that I have been selected for joining Government Model Senior Secondary School, Sector 16, as a teacher. So I was faced with a choice. Would I want to carry on with my M.Ed? And would I want to take up this teaching opportunities? Now, both choices are happy choices to make. And I chose one of them. I opted to take the job opportunity that came my way. Had I chosen the other one, maybe my life would have gone in a different tangent. Perhaps, we haven't explored that route, so we don't know. But I chose this option. So what I'm trying to say is, there will be some options that come to you, which you need to take a decision on and then move on with it and prove that right. Okay. I don't know if any of you have heard about the husband store. Okay. So there was this store which opened up in New York, right? And it was the husband store. So women everywhere, are known for shopping. And they were told that they can come and choose a husband for themselves. And the advertisement was up and running and saying you can get anything that you desire. And so there was this one lady who was very happy, and she happily went on to the store and she said, this time I'm going to really find everything that I want. And she goes to the store reception, and the managers there tells her that, welcome ma'am to the store. You're in for a real treat. Our store, the store, was five stories tall. And he said that every floor you will get products. And as you ascend every floor, the products are going to increase in value. Okay. And you can choose whatever you feel like. And there was only one caveat. The caveat is that you choose and then you exit. You can't come down, right? You can't come to the floor below. You just need to keep moving up or make a choice and then make your purchase and move out. So this lady is very interested, very happy, goes up to the floor, and right at the entrance, she sees this sign which says, all the men on this floor are incredibly good looking. Wow, that sounds good. And but she said, well, there are 5 floors above me. Let me check out what comes up ahead. And so she makes her way to the 2nd floor. And that floor banner reads, welcome to this floor. All the men in this floor are incredibly good looking and have jobs. Hey, this sounds nice. But then curiosity gets better of her, and she says, I'm seeing the value add coming in. So let me go check what's happening on the 3rd floor. And so she goes traipsing up to the 3rd floor, and there she has options to choose from: men who are incredibly good looking, have amazing jobs, and love children. Can this really get any better? So she says, yeah, I kind of like this, but I don't want to miss out. What if I have something really, 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 really interesting and exciting on the next floor? And so she goes up the floor, and she finds that that floor offers men who are incredibly good looking, have amazing jobs, love children, and will help their wives in doing the housework. Okay. Now, this is more than she can actually bear. So she's really pleased. But then there is a floor above, right? And she says, I am going to check this out because I'm seeing the incredible increase in the value chain as I go up. So I'm not going to miss out on that one. And she goes to the 5th floor. And when she reaches there, there is this banner which says, welcome, ma'am. You are the 85,678th visitor on this floor. There are no men here. Please exit. The moral of what I'm trying to drive here, particularly among my younger listeners, please do not choose or look for opportunities without considering your timelines, and do not let the fear of missing out drive you. Okay? If you think you have a good thing going, make your choice and keep progressing, putting things into action and carrying forward. Don't try to rehash, revisit, I want this and that and that. And meanwhile, we find time is slipping by. And sometimes we may just miss the bus. Okay. Also, the other thing that I would like to say is we always have a choice. Always. You would have had some friends who say, "Yaar, mere paas to koi choice hi nahi thi." Okay. There'll be some people who say that. I never had a choice. I just did not have a choice. Don't allow such thoughts to come to your mind. You always have a choice. Even the fact that you are choosing not to do anything is a choice that you're making, right? So don't give away your power. Make sure that you consistently keep that power with you, exercise your choices, and go ahead with that. The next thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that as you make your choices, you will be told very often, maybe even questioned, are you making the right choice? Okay. Remember, choices will always have consequences. And do your choices matter? Yes, your choices matter because your choices will have consequences. I'll give you a very simple example. I think one of the choices that my parents made has had a consequence that I face even till today in a good way though. For example, like I said, we were born and brought up in Chandigarh, and primarily we are from Kerala. So my parents made a choice for my brother and I that we would learn Hindi and English before we would learn Malayalam, which is our mother tongue. Okay, it's a simple choice. It was a simple decision. But I will tell you that this decision of theirs till date impacts us, because any person that I meet for the first time will never believe me when I tell them that I'm a Malayali, because they refuse to think, and they are not able to comprehend, if she is a Malayali or hailing from Kerala, why does she not have that tinge of accent in her that the mother tongue usually influences people from that part of the world or that part of India. And that decision of my parents, I think, has also earned me the tagline. I'm often called by my friends and colleagues, "Oh, Emily, she's the Mallu with the Panju heart." Right? The same choice I exercised in the lives of my daughters. I have two daughters. My elder daughter is 25. My younger one is 23. So we are like a woman power family. And my elder daughter works as a content writer for ITC, and my younger one, she's into a recruitment firm for a technology organization. I made the same choice of wanting to provide better access to education and opportunities in Chennai as compared to living back in Trivandrum. So these are options that we exercise as we grow, as we go on in the path of our life. And sometimes you will be asked if you made your right choice. I remember when the children were younger, I made a choice that I'm going to stay at home and take care of them in the very initial years when they were toddlers. My husband used to have a traveling job, and I felt that I don't want my children to be, growing up with both their parents absent at the same time. And I chose to take a career break at that point in time. Many years later, when I had again stepped into the corporate world, I went for an interview. I was interviewing for the position of a senior manager. And one of the HR recruiters who was interviewing me, also a woman, incidentally, She looked flat at me and she said, Emily, I see that you have been following your family around whenever, your husband got a transfer, you've just gone along. And because of that, don't you think at your age and stage, you should have been at a different title, at a different level in office? And while her words were like a stab in my gut, I was able to look at her very sincerely and truthfully and tell her that, yes, ma'am, I did make a choice of moving along with my family whenever they did. And I might have, not reached the level of a title in the in the corporate world. But I'm happy that I was with my children when they were growing and I was able to keep my side of my choice intact. So there will be times when your choices will be questioned. But the important thing for you to remember is that your choices have consequences, your choices matter, and they will take you further along the way that you are dreaming to get. While we're on the topic of choices, I will also tell you about the next slide, which has a large number written on it. It's coming to you as a warning. If you could just move to the next slide. So they say in life,
This slide or the next one?
in the span of your life, yeah, this one. This is good.
Okay. Okay.
So in the span of your life, you will be making close to 773, 618 decisions in your lifetime. And when you do, this is and statistics, when you do, more than 143,000 of your decisions will go wrong. They will be decisions that you will regret. It's proven, researched, statistic, right? Why did I choose to bring this up to you? The reason I brought this up to you today is because I want everyone who's listening in to understand that no matter how well you choose and make your choices, you will always have some choices that go to take you to a place that you were not expecting. Don't allow those choices which didn't take you to a place where you wanted to go stop you from living your life. Okay, I heard Amrita talk about a place where she tried to get into a particular position or a role and she did not make it. Yeah, she could have given up, but she chose to persevere. And right now, she's running 4 years in the same role that she once did not get initially. So make sure that even though sometimes your choices are bound not to get you the results that you wanted, you will still persevere. The second thing that I want to tell you about choices is that safe choices are not going to do anything great or much for you. They will do just that for you. They'll keep you safe. I'm getting an alert actually about having trouble connecting. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Emily. Sometimes it tries to kind of get stretched, but there's no break. It's okay. Sometimes there are momentary.
So I'm kind of,
pauses.
going to move on to the next segment of what I was trying.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just moving on to the next segment of what I wanted to share about, and that is challenging your choices. I think challenges for this year, really, we don't need too many examples. We're all coming out of 2020, which was a year of challenges like we've never faced before, a precedent we never had, right? If you look on the slide, you can take a look at that very seemingly innocent looking, pretty crystal, which today we have come to know is what COVID is represented. What a challenge we faced. And as not just women, but across, I think we've really overcome it so very well, right? So challenging your choices and choosing your challenges is so very critical. Often you've seen seeds, right? So if you have a bunch of seeds in your hand and you take a look at them, they're like smooth, they're shiny, they're intact, they're pretty looking as well. And they have a whole world inside them. But what happens if you drop a seed into the ground, right? If you drop a seed into the ground, that is when the seed gets covered, gets into some dirt, feels the pressure of the earth over it, has to stretch. The coat, the cover that it wears has to break, soften, stretch itself. And slowly, after facing a period of slowness, after facing a space of being alone in the dark, not knowing what tomorrow will bring, it breaks through and finds sunlight, and we see growth. But if you look at the seeds in your hand, they're still shiny, they're still intact, they're still smooth, they're still pretty, but they will never reach their real potential. So you will only reach your full potential of getting where you want to get by stretching yourself, by facing your challenges and challenging your choices. So while safe choices are important for us, they are helpful to self-preserve ourselves, but it's so very important to continuously challenge yourself. Again, I'm going back to what Damon and Amrita mentioned. We must continue and strive to challenge ourselves if we are looking to grow, if we are looking to impact the world, if we are looking to create and make a difference. So to all the women in the audience, I just have this to say. You have everything that you need within yourself to grow, to impact, and to reach your full potential. You are enough. You do not need anybody else's approval. And while it would make it easier to have a lot of people collaborate and cooperate and work alongside with you, all we need to do is really challenge ourselves, and we will get there. To the men in the group who are listening, I want to thank you for being supportive and cooperative. To all the women in your world, in the women who work alongside you, in your families, and so on. And in case you're already doing that, thank you again. And in case you have not begun, then I would like to say today is a good day to make a start. If you go into the next slide, just wanted to share that for women to grow and challenge themselves, it's never been easier than it is right now. So in both our speakers before this, we've been talking about the need to fight, to get our equality, to make our presence felt, I do want to make it a point to share that right now is a good time to start. When I say it's never been easier than it is right now, I want to share with you, the latest Women in Business report, which was published by Grant Thornton for 2021, says that India ranks third globally in the proportion of women in leadership positions today. And similarly, women in senior leadership positions, we have 39% women compared to the 31% women in global perspective. So we are making progress, right? I agree, we are not where we want to be at this point in time, but we're definitely on our way. And I would urge every person who's listening to me to understand the only thing that is stopping you is yourself and no one else. So never let it be said that we are a victim of our circumstances. You are not a victim of your circumstance. You are the author of the life script that you are writing for yourself. And I would again say, choose your challenges and challenge your choices and celebrate yourself. Thank you so very much for this wonderful opportunity. And yes, like you rightly said in the beginning, Dr. Ravneet, I think we've made friends, newer friends, forged newer collaborations globally. And cheers to a wonderful, happy Women's Day. Thank you so much. I'm open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Emily. I would first like to bring in Professor Dalon, for her remarks, for her observations. Then we have Dr. Ravinder, Mr. Ravinder to consolidate on all questions and bring in questions in a summary from students. So Professor Dalon first.
Thank you, Emily, for such a wonderful, speech, taking us through, coloring it with your life experience and your thoughts. And thank you for letting me know not to choose the 5th floor in the husband store. But I like, you talk about choose your challenge and challenge your choices. And how to stretch yourself. How do you stretch yourself for people who are listening? How do you do that?
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you, Professor Damon, for asking that question. I think it's a common challenge that all of us face. We are used to multitasking, and I think it was a question that was asked of Amrita as well earlier. I would like to start with 2 very clear answers that I have for you. The first one, and then they're clear, but they're not so easy, right? Anything worthwhile doesn't come easy all the time, right?
Sure.
So the first thing for me to talk about when we are talking about stretch, is learn to focus which battles you want to fight. Learn to pick and choose what you want to take on. So you might have n number of choices coming up for you to, divide your attention and your effort and your energy but you've got to learn which one are you going to focus on. I mean, learn to pick which battle you're going to fight so that you will win the war. The other point that I want to talk about when we talk about stretching is learning to say no. It is easier said than done, especially for women. To say no is like, I just can't say no, right? But I think when we have to divide our time, our attention, our focus, all of us are limited, right? We must learn to be able to chunk these out in those that are essential and mandatory, those that can be that are important but can be done at a later time, and those that are absolute distraction, time wasters. I'm not going to go into the details of those, but yes, learning to say no, pick your battles, and being clear. Even a to-do list is something that will get through the whole laundry list of the million things you need to do and complete them successfully.
Thank you so much for answering that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Am I still going?
Mr. Ravinder, can you ask more questions?
Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all, I would like to thank you, ma'am, for
I'm
sharing
not
your
able
valuable
to
experiences.
hear any questions at this point in time. So if there are any,
someone is speaking.
Happy to answer.
Emily, ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am?
A little bit low.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Emily, ma'am?
Emily, are you hearing me? I don't think they're hearing anyone.
I can hear you, Dalon.
I can hear you, Ravneet.
Okay.
I can hear you, Ravneet, but I can't
Gurbina, I think, was
actually
asking
hear
a
any.
question, but you were not hearing him. He's off screen now. He's no longer, okay, he's back.
Yeah. Ma'am, now I'm audible?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you so much, first of all, for your valuable experiences, which you have shared with us. And we have learned a lot. And after listening to you, I've just read in newspaper today that there was a survey conducted by leading newspaper in India, and the survey was about the opinions of men and women, the opinions at which they agree, simultaneously, mutually they agree at the opinions, and the 90% men and women they agreed on a point that they should get respect and equality. So when we talk about choices, when we talk about challenges, so how you see upon this that 90% of men and women they're agreed, and they are they are simultaneously saying that yes, we need equality and respect. But when we see it practically, we do not observe it in our society, especially in India. We do not observe it. We see a lot of differences, a lot of biasness, stereotypes regarding the men and women. So how will you rate women empowerment according to this survey? There is a lot of difference between theoretical aspect and practical aspect. And one more I want to add in this. When we talk about choices and challenges, ma'am, you know the farmer protest is going on in India, and a lot of women are also going there. A survey was also conducted, and you will be shocked that 85% of rural women in India they are practicing the agricultural occupation, but only 13% they are having the legal properties, the properties by their names. Only 13%, 13%. So, but 85% women, they are doing it, agricultural practices. So, ma'am, when we talk about the choice, very you know what a topic you have covered, what a topic, what a thought you are sharing, that choices and challenges. So, how will you rate women empowerment according to these two situations?
Right. The topic is awesome and amazing, just like you said. So are the challenges. So while both men and women, they rate the fact that women need to be empowered, that we need to be, having the equality segment to be focused on, emphasized. Practically, we see a lot of difference, which is what Professor Damon also was highlighting in what she was saying. We are the land of the Indira Gandhis, and we are the land of Rani Lakshmi Bai. We are the land of Sita as well. We are also the land of Nirbhaya. And therefore, we still read of shocking judgments which are coming when we talk about cases that involve atrocities against women. Okay. So practically, yes, there needs to be a sea change. And how can we bring that about? One of the ways to do so is in exactly the mode that we are doing right now. The internet and technology has advanced so much that we are able to connect globally across diverse sections of population, different zones. And it is so very important that we give precedence to women's voices. That's number one. The second thing that we can do to bring about this empowerment is for women to support women for a starter. We must understand that we are collectively rising or collectively declining. I think in that aspect, COVID has been such a great teacher. I think on a global scale, COVID has taught us just keeping myself safe is not going to help me. I have to stay safe and I have to keep you safe, and you have to stay safe for yourself so that we all can stay safe. And I think that's the same principle that will help us usher in women's equality much more than anything else can. Today, diversity and inclusion are such hot topics. And that's why I also made that statement. It has never been as easier today as it has ever been before. Because we've got the platforms to raise our voices. And I just want to also, add a tinge of peaceful sounding of these important topics. For example, when we talk about women empowerment and inequality, there are instances where some people get very agitated. There is no fight. There is no competition between men and women. I always share this with any audience that I'm addressing. Please understand, there is no fight. God made man and woman different. He did not make us one better than the other, one lesser than the other. When God created us, He created us man and woman, and He segregated our tasks and roles and responsibilities. It has messed this up. Over a period of time, instead of the male of the species becoming the provider, Man has created areas where now the woman, instead of being the nurturer and the man being the provider and the hunter, today the woman also has to step up and do the providing part. And therefore, we see an imbalance in the role and responsibilities. So, to everybody that I am reaching out to, I would say no one is better than the other. We are just different. And we should learn to embrace our differences and to urge the other to become the best version of themselves, even as we strive to become our best version of ourselves. If we do that, we will reach a place, a happy place, where everyone reaches their highest potential. I hope
Thank you.
the question to
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. You are an institution. Really inspiring, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. The listeners would have now agreed to what I was trying to say about Emily. May I now request Professor Dalon to sum up the day as the chairperson, her perspective, the speaker's perspective, the audience's perspective from the questions that we had. How do you thread the whole story? Professor Dalon, please.
Thank you so much. This has been a really fulfilling AM in my side of the world. The presentations were lovely. Hearing about the strengths that we all have, how we keep pushing forward. Hearing from Amrita, talking about at such a young age, recognizing the passion, the drive, and the ability that she can do these things and actually follow through with them and be committed to them, and wanting to, explore different things without focusing on what limits her. She tries to keep pushing forward. Talking about giving back to her community, her civic duties. It is refreshing to hear that, especially from a mind so young. When she gets to our age, she will be moving mountains instead of climbing them. And so I look forward to her coming into herself, making more choices, challenging herself. And getting to that point where she also, and from what she shares, she recognized the importance of teamwork. So she's not there. It's not just me. It's that she's bringing along. She's also making the opportunity to engage with others so that they can come together as a team. And we need that. We're doing that here right now. We need so much more of that. And it was so refreshing to hear. Again, from one, I don't want to keep harping on the age, but the fact that she has, put her thoughts and set her mind on these things so early in life is very, very commendable and admirable in such an age. And it gives us reason to hope for women everywhere, for societies to improve and get to gender parity that we're talking about. And for Emily, oh my, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, for bringing me into your world. It was really helpful to hear just the way you describe, your experience, the way you have framed some of the things that we can do to move forward. We have it in us. It is in us to find that, to recognize that, and to put it out there, similar to Amrita, who has done that and who is doing that. We can learn from that too. Thank you so much for, talking about challenging your choices. That is so powerful. Oftentimes we make choices, we move sometimes because we have to, but talking about having to make a choice every 2 seconds, we sometimes don't think about that, and the thought that needs to go into that. We need to be prepared to make choices that can elevate us to that point, depending on our goals and what we're trying to accomplish, to stretch ourselves. Do not allow things to limit us. Find your strength. Push yourself beyond. Find the support that you need to elevate beyond that point. So that was wonderful. And so I thank you very much for inviting me into your space. I thank you for having me listen into you and participate and sharing my thoughts in all of this. It's no different here in terms of some of the struggles as a woman that we're having, no matter where we are. We share our different burdens, our different challenges, but it's also great to hear that we're working, we're overcoming, we're not getting discouraged. And for the young minds, for those who participated in planning, those who are in training, it's not on you, but you're part of it. You also need to pick up and carry the bulk of the load. Because we're getting old, and at some point you will have to take over. But it's great to see the integration, the mix, the support, the different, on the spectrum of age, of different interest, that we're all gathered here to celebrate International Women's Day 2021. And I thank you for inviting me in. I thank you for sharing. I thank you for adding to my learning and understanding of what happens in the other side. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Dalon. Thank you, dear Emily, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Amrita in absentia. I am glad that I chose three of you with my team. I thank my team from the bottom of my heart again. But first, let's have a formal vote of thanks from our English professor, Dr. Anjali Puri. Over to Anjali, ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Unmute.
It was such a delightful.
Yes, I think I'm audible now. Thank you so much, Ravneet ma'am. So I'm here to propose a formal vote of thanks. On behalf of entire fraternity of Government College of Education, I'm extremely grateful to Professor Dalon P. Taylor for chairing this international webinar. So in spite of being in the different time zone, ma'am has given her busiest time and valuable insights. So, and your words and your vote peace mantra are going to stay with us for a long time. So, ma'am, we are extremely grateful. I also express my thankfulness to our worthy speakers, Ms. Amrita Kaur and Ms. Emily Sam Thomas, for being with us. Ma'am, you have been tremendous speakers, and you have paved a long way for making this international webinar a success. So, thanks once again. And we are also grateful to our academia and audience who are connected to us from throughout the world, from various parts of the world. So thank you, one and all. And I would request all the audience to please fill the feedback form, which is going to be shared. This is mandatory for your attendance and for getting the certificate. So thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
My technical team may please now load the feedback form. I would like Gurbina Chopra, our student coordinator, to make a comment on behalf of the students.
Thank you so much, ma'am, first of all, for giving us this wonderful opportunity and, making us aware of all the potentials which we had prior to this 1 week of, supporting the team and everything. We did not know that how we would evolve. So this 1 week has evolved us in a way which is beyond description we can describe, and it has definitely changed our perspectives. And I am very much sure, on behalf of my colleagues and of my classmates, I extend my thanks to you.
And I'm sure this would make us better pupil teachers in near future. I thank you all.
Okay. So any more thing, or can we close? Anything from anyone? Okay. So we move to the end of the session.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dalon. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's
Dr.
been a pleasure
Uni.
talking to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Principal Sir, my team, Gurbina, Shivangi, Anmol, Shivangi, Himanshi, Bharat on camera, Nitin on certificates, and my young colleagues, Ravinder ji, Aarti ji, and Upasana ji. And of course, the leader of the team, my principal sir, my colleagues for all the support and dedicated time. To one and all from the entire global listeners, we shall meet again on similar platforms very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.